Welcome to What's Next, Living Longer, Better, Smarter. In this edition, hopeful for the holidays. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Mary Furlong. Hi, Mary.
Hi, great to be here, Fred, with you today.
Well, everything is so different getting ready for the holidays during a pandemic. But with vaccines on the horizon and families finding ways to stay close virtually when necessary, there is still much to be hopeful about.
Yes, and we have a great guest with us today. So someone I've worked with for a long time, Michael Phillips at ARP.
And first, let me thank you, Mary and Fred, for having me on today. This is such a treat coming into the holidays to do this by Zoom. It's such a different year, and like many families, our holiday plans are much different than they are in the past. But one of the things that we're seeing, I think everybody's seeing, is that COVID is making the benefits of technology even greater than they were, magnified. And there's some great technology that's out there that I can share that we'd love to that will bring joy to a lot of people, I'm sure, over the holidays. Just one note on some of our research, we're seeing that older adults are adopting technology devices and services at the same rate or almost the same rate as other ages. They're just not always using all of the features and functionality as well as or as much as others. So some great opportunities are out there to help the loved ones in our life take full advantage of technology. And I want to start with what I think is the category of devices that is coming further. The innovation is happening the fastest, and that is, I've got one example here, the smart display. It's a category that almost doesn't even have a name yet, even though it's been around for a few years. This is an Amazon Alexa Show. There's also a Facebook portal.
Sending to TV. This might take a few seconds.
Hold on one second. Let me Facebook.
That's
Alexa,
what they do.
Mute. Yes, that's right. Google, you mute too. We have to quiet everybody down. Google has the Google Nest Hub, Mary, which you have one in the box. That's exciting. You get to unbox it.
Well, this was an exciting box to open this morning. It's my new Google Nest Hub Max, and I think it just does everything, right, Fred? All in one box?
They do a lot, and now so you can have Alexa and Max meet each other. Isn't that sweet?
Right. That's right. And I want to mention one, Alexa mute. I also want to, I just want to mention a third, and that's the Facebook portal, which comes in a few different smart device form factors. I have one that fits on my television and turns my 52-inch television into a smart display. And it uses Alexa. But all of these smart displays came out of voice. They all do so many different things, but the best thing I think they do is help us stay connected by video chat. And it's so easy to drop in on loved ones and family members by video using these devices. If it's okay, I want to just say something that I really appreciate about each of the three models that I mentioned. The Alexa device is actually bringing in integration with their new home health hub, and is going to allow family caregivers to monitor loved ones who have a device from afar. So know what reminders and what other activities taken place, and be able to drop in. I love the Google Nest Hub that Mary you'll be unboxing, because it's such a great way to share pictures. I can share pictures from my Google Facebook, or I'm sorry, my Google Photos and other social media, and it's also an easy way to drop in on these YouTube how-to videos that we all can't get enough of, right? And finally, Mary, I know you're a new grandmother. And the Facebook portal has a wonderful feature that one of these days, as the little one grows up, you're going to love, and that is storytelling. So they use the magic of augmented reality to put the grandparent in the story through video chat as they read the story to their grandkids. Such fun technology is lovely.
Fred, I know you're a big fan of family storytelling, right?
Well, yeah, I've been doing a weekly grandpa story time with some of the younger grandchildren. I've got 6 in all grandchildren, but the younger ones. And it's the same time every week on Wednesday nights. And what I've been doing is using a notebook and Zoom, using the Kindle reader and sharing that screen. So I'm still in a corner of the screen reading and I can see them too. And the book, they can see the book as we turn the pages and things. They have a thing called Kindle Unlimited, which lets you subscribe. And there are a whole bunch of kids books that you don't have to go buy them every week. You can go through and find whatever they want to hear that week. And it's a terrific thing. And actually it's one of those silver linings during COVID. I kind of wish I'd been doing this before. Didn't start till the pandemic.
That's right. And, I think we're all looking and finding these silver linings, and technology is allowing us to stay connected in new and exciting ways that we just might not have been doing if otherwise. Yeah, that's really exciting. And I think by showing the screen, you're reading along with them, and they're learning to read with you, even though you're not even in the same room. That's really, really exciting.
And Mary's going to find a lot of things with her new Hub Max that she can do. It can be a TV in the kitchen. It can be all kinds of things, video conferencing and music. It's got a great speaker too. I'm sure you've had to listen to it too, Michael.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And being able to check the weather and news and information and in different ways, it makes it so convenient from one place. I want to also share, because it is such a different year. I want to share another idea for gifting that's technology based, and that's digital subscriptions. The reason that I love digital subscriptions for 2020 is one, there's so many that promote healthy living, and we all are thinking about living more healthy, given some of the limitations in our day-to-day life. Also, it's a gift that doesn't make any clutter, and third, it's something that you can give without actually being there. We're not going to be present when a lot of people open their presents. Some we may not want to ship presents. So digital subscriptions are a great idea. A few of my favorite digital subscriptions. If you have somebody in your life that is interested in lifelong learning, and we all know that promotes greater brain health as we age. Masterclass is a wonderful subscription to provide. Udemy, Skillshare has cooking and sewing and a lot of other types of skills like that. Or Rosetta Stone, learning a new language is also promotes healthy brain. Giving digital subscriptions for a meditation app like Headspace or my favorite, Calm, or a fitness subscription like Beachbody On Demand, or a yoga subscription, or even Peloton has wonderful fitness content that you don't have to buy their expensive equipment in order to enjoy. And lastly, just all of the entertainment subscriptions have gift subscriptions available. If they're into movies and television, obviously it's Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus has amazing content now. If they like to read or listen to audiobooks, Audible, or my favorite, Blinkist, because it compresses the books. And then music subscriptions are always a great gift idea. Spotify, YouTube Music, Pandora Premium, those types of things.
That's a great idea, Michael. I mean, it's hard even to go and buy gift cards, right? And
Yes.
So I also think older adults consume a lot of news. And so if you get to the point where you have to join and read the whole article, a news subscription is great. And I'm a big fan of Mayo Clinic's health content, and also Spark People. If you hire a nutritionist and who hasn't gained 19 pounds during COVID, Spark People makes it really easy to track your meal planning. So I think I love that idea of digital subscriptions as an idea.
It seems It seems very 2020, doesn't it?
And I'll tell you, the gift I just gave our team last week was, DoorDash, so I
Yeah,
think technology is at this strategic inflection point, which we hit about mid-February. And we all had to learn services like Instacart and DoorDash. So these apps that younger people were using all the time have become very much a part of our life, right? As
that's
caregivers, even.
That's exactly right. And there's so many great subscription services out there for either physical, tangible things, services like Uber, Geek Squad, Help Herd, or streaming content.
And some of those fitness things that you were talking about, Michael, they can tie in with the trackers that people can wear, the wearables.
Yeah, so a lot of that is coming. A lot of that's growing. Yes, there are services like Buddy Service and Vitalik and other services that are starting to take the data from wearables and other and activity trackers and other health sensors and aggregate it together. I think over the next year or two, we're gonna see so many more opportunities to easily use healthy living services, sensors from wearables, and really intelligent assistive information coming to us. I think that's really coming quick, that innovation.
Mary, with that beautiful new granddaughter that you have, I know you've been thinking about grandma tech. You can use that Google Max hub the Nest Hub as a digital frame of sorts. But there are lots of other digital frames on the market too that allow people to send photos to you that just pop up wherever you have the frame.
I think since the COVID happened, the amount of picture sharing and image sharing that people have about what's going on in their lives because we're not seeing each other so much. It used to be people would take pictures when they were in a restaurant of what their meal was. Well, those days are kind of gone, but I think gone for now at least. But I think there is this idea to participate in each other's life. And how do we do that? I'm a little concerned about privacy. So, Michael, when all these people are listening to you, how do we manage that? What if I don't want to work out today because my knee hurts? Is Alexa going to make me get out there anyway?
Yeah, or tattletale on you to your family caregiver. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things we have to work out as a society and as innovators. And you have such a great cadre of listeners that are working on these big issues. What's that balance of being able to monitor and provide assistance versus the privacy concerns? And I think we have to work through all of that. And photos are a great example too, putting photos in the cloud so that they go
Right.
so that people can enjoy on their digital frames, like you said, Fred, is a great service to be able to share pictures so easily, and watching where those pictures go and how long we have access to them. We've been doing a lot of archiving pictures both locally on hard drives and in the cloud, and having to think through some of these questions. But I did want to bring that up also as one other opportunity now in the season of COVID, when people are at home and may not have as active lives and are looking for projects to get into. What a great project this winter to go back and archive all of the family photos from over the years. And there's great, for a gift, buying somebody a 1 terabyte hard drive is less than $50 now. There's services, there's devices that you can sit your camera phone on top of and start and rapidly take pictures of digital pictures, convert to digital pictures, store it in the cloud or store it locally. You have two options there. And, I think that gives us the opportunity to really take those memories from years back, and not only save them for later generations, but share them through the Google Nest Hub, through digital picture frames, and through other media.
Terrific. I looked at one thing, which was a scanner a while back from Epson, their fast photo scanner that lets you take really a stack of your snapshots, put them in, and it spits them out like one every second. It's so
Yeah.
fast.
Michael, another area that I think is a gift idea, and I have a microphone here, see, because I've had to open up a Zoom studio in my home, but many boomers are working still. You know, your colleague Nancy last week said the future of retirement is work. And so as we're working, we have to skill up in these technology areas. So that's where companies like Get Set Up can teach you technology skills. But what about having a home studio installed for Christmas or Hanukkah?
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea with lighting and a mic. I love your microphone there, Mary. It looks like Alfred R. Murray. Is that the Murrow?
Edward R. Murrow, and I've got
I
the
was
same
gonna
one
go
in
Walter
front of me.
Cronkite, but I think that yours as well, Fred. Those are excellent. That's a great idea. Is backdrops and studios, because we're all we're all going to be in this situation, even when things are back to normal. I think that we're going to be able to enjoy each other's company through video for a long time. So that makes a lot of sense.
I know you have children, Michael, and they're probably spending some time being schooled at home. Do you have any advice for people that are trying to gift for school-age children? What are things that can help in homeschooling and inspire them? Should we be buying STEM toys this holiday?
Yeah, that's a really great question. There are some great STEM toys out on the market, especially for younger kids. And Microsoft Azure has just come out with a whole line that they have not started marketing yet, but is great for the young programmers. Obviously, Arduino and Raspberry Pi are still are platforms that kids are really learning to code on. What we found with our kids who are in school, they have a lot more time now. They're not doing after school activities. School doesn't take the full 8 hours, and to be able to learn new skills like coding is great. And Fred, you and I have something in common. We both learned to do our first coding or programming on a TI 99.4A years ago. So I think that there's several platforms for today's young budding technologists to learn on.
Who needs hard drives when you have cartridges?
That's right, or cassette tapes in the case of the TI computer.
So I think that's an important point, because I always joke that I did my dissertation on punch cards, which I did at SC. And when you look at older adults that were engineers, and many have a lifelong interest in new technologies, but there's still a learning curve to figure out the next thing. So there's probably some skills and resources we can offer to our audience about how to learn to use the new technologies, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And our kids actually are getting a game console, which we don't have, not so that they can sit around and play games, but so they can get active. I think fitness is such an important thing. Sitting around on a computer all day and not being able to get outside. We're looking for fitness gaming as a way of continuing activity over the winter.
Well, I like all of your suggestions, because I think a lot of times people think about older adults and what technologies can we get to monitor them. I like to think about technologies to empower them and to help them share their vision, their voices. And I know, Fred, later in the segment, we have a great example of using technology to share your voice, right?
Oh, absolutely. So you want to stay tuned for that. Michael, really, really great to have you with us, and congratulations on the work that you're doing with AARP. Really, really terrific.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you for all that you're doing in the space of innovation and longevity market. It's so meaningful. So kudos, and keep up the good work in 2021.
In this next segment, Mary, we're taking a look at just one of the many highlights from this month's Longevity Innovation Summit. Joining us from Pew Research is Lee Rainey, Director of Internet and Technology Research. Great to see you again, Lee.
So great to see you too.
And Lee, I've always been inspired by your work. And one of the things I've learned as a female entrepreneur is you have to pay attention to the data and the trends. And so we're very interested to hear what your analysis showed about internet trends and communication trends about boomers and seniors.
Thanks, Mary. The big story I was trying to tell on that panel is that people over age 50 have been very much a part of the two huge revolutions that have occurred in media in their lifetimes and actually just in the past generation. So one big trend, of course, is the rise of technology and the way in which we've seen adoption of essential digital tools across the board, across all kinds of populations, but it's changed the media landscape. It's changed the way that people get information. It's allowed them to share information in ways that are much easier than it used to be before. So the technology disruption piece was part of it. The second piece is that the media landscape itself has become balkanized. There are so many alternatives now for people to get news and information, again, and to share material. That's been enormously disruptive to the big industries that have gone through these changes. So here's one of the highlight slides that I presented that compares adults over age 65 to the general population in 5 big dimensions of technology adoption. You can see that 90% of American adults now use the internet and 3/4 of senior citizens do. Home broadband is, of course, an enormously important part of the tech landscape. If you have home broadband, you're a really different media consumer from those who don't have it. And about 59% of those over age 65 now have home broadband. So it's a really strong adoption story. More than half of people over age 65 have smartphones. There's hardly any gap between folks over 65 and the general population when it comes to tablet computer ownership. Tablet computers are enormously popular with seniors. And social media is really the most striking story from our perspective as we look at the way that people's media habits and media diets have changed. 40% of those age 65 and older now use social media. And here's what that looks like for a couple of the key platforms. There aren't that many folks over 50 who use Snapchat, but once you get into places like Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, significant shares of the population 65 and older are now very deeply into those environments. And part of the story is, of course, they're creating their own community spaces as they are embracing these social media platforms for their own purposes. We also asked a bit about how people are using the internet in the midst of the pandemic. Has their the internet use been essential, or has it been important but not essential? And you'll see there that significant shares of the population over age 50 now say that as they've sheltered in place and been disrupted by the pandemic, the internet has been essential to them or important in ways that are dramatic across the board. It's the way they're getting their food in some cases. It's certainly the way they're entertaining themselves. It's the way that they are sharing social engagements and things like that. And then finally, here's just the last slide to show you broad media consumption patterns across different age demographics. And you'll see that in the context of getting political and election news, people over age 50 are very much online. So they're getting news through websites and apps, but they're also really avid consumers on cable TV, local TV, network TV, radio, and print. So it's a pretty wide-ranging story, and it's a story about the multiplicity of media activities in people's lives.
And also the changing. So do you think part of the adoption of social media was to stay connected with their families?
Oh, that usually was the starting story. A child or a grandchild would invite a senior citizen to join them on Facebook. If you want to see pictures of me, if you want to see what I'm up to, join me on Facebook. But it was so striking to see in our data that once people over age 50 began to flood into, particularly Facebook, they began to embrace brand new uses of the platform. So one of the strongest uses we saw was for healthcare and caregiving activities. These amazing patient populations, people who were sharing disease conditions or wanted to hear about what was going on with certain diseases and symptoms, they immediately bonded with others who were complete strangers, but shared the same story about a medical condition or a caregiving set of circumstances that were really central to their lives.
And that's not to mention, Lee, the connections that have been restored between all of us and our high school classmates or college classmates. All of a sudden, we're back with them.
That was the second magic part, Fred. The fancy social science word for that is the restoration of latent ties. So these actually, in many people's lives, are connections to important people that had withered. They didn't live in the same hometown anymore. They didn't go to the same school anymore. They didn't share the same job anymore. But all of a sudden, if you remember back to those early days of Facebook, when you created your profile, it immediately began to ask you, what are your interests? Where have you lived? Where have you worked? What was your education? And it would repopulate the field with people who might have gone to the same school as you or worked at the same place or lived in the same community. And it was like watching your past come to life again. And so many senior citizens just thought that was magic. And it was the big draw for them to go online.
And of course, the COVID has forced us to be at home. And so these connections are even more important now, right?
Yeah, we've seen sort of an increase in literally the urgency that people have felt after we began to shelter in place, urgency to reach out. Sometimes, as Fred so beautifully pointed out, to people in their past that they didn't want to lose track of anymore, or people that they only had episodic contact with. They doubled down on the number of times they call them or FaceTime them or have Zoom calls with them or things like that. So there was a sort of a nesting sentiment that allowed people to basically rebuild their social networks, particularly when they were worried about themselves and worried about their friends, and trying to find some social interactions that were also safe.
I know I've been to a Zoom baby shower, a birthday party, shopped for a wedding dress with my new daughter-in-law. And this weekend I'm going to a memorial service, and I've hosted a holiday party. And I've been so inspired how people want to stay together. They will skill up to learn to be a part of that because they wouldn't want to miss it, right?
Yeah, and you just get the feeling that this is going to be a permanent change in our culture and maybe around the world, that having this distressing, scary, isolating experience occur to us, people aren't going to move back to lives of individualism and just sort of not being in contact. That this instinct to restore connections and to deepen connections is now sort of a permanent part of life for a lot of people, exactly in the ways that you're describing, Mary. It's across the board, from joyful things to the most heart-wrenching things. They now can be experienced on these platforms, and people appreciate that.
I also think you and Fred are two of the brightest stars that I've ever worked with. The intellectual candle power that you kind of allude when you share your ideas. And I love that I'm reconnecting with these colleagues and learning from them and sharing their learnings with our wider audience, because it's just a fun thing to do. It deepens. If we can't go outside to the local store, you have your world right in front of you, as one of my senior net members used to say.
There's just a ton of research now showing, Mary, that the stuff you describe as fun, which really is fun, is really good for people. It keeps them healthier, makes them happier. They have a deeper sense of well-being. And so this is like an elixir for life. And these technologies that are helping people stay connected in times of stress and distress are a godsend. And people are thinking about them that way. And what's so interesting is that they can expand their social networks and just keep a lot more balls in the air as they deal with as many people as is desirable for them. And we all know that people who have bigger, stronger, more diverse networks just have a way better time in life than people who are living more in isolation.
I want to go back to the point you made about the health niches inside of Facebook. So I have a friend who has a bone disease, and she has found a niche health group, support group inside Facebook on that. And, you know, as you get older, and I don't know that the boomers are really going to be senior citizens because they're 75 in January. I'm 72. And so when we look at this new generation of older adults, I think that they're kind of ready to rock and roll again, play games again, travel virtually, and work. You know, work may be important. I think part of the reason they're skilling up and using the internet is that if they want to continue to work, they're going to have to learn how to work from home, right?
Yeah. What was particularly striking to see after the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, and then doubling down again after the pandemic hit this year, is people sort of taking stock of their skills, of their employability, of their well-being. You know, what makes me happy and how do I achieve that? And there's a lot of ways now that people can exploit these technologies to make sure they stay on top of the things that interest them, or to find new activities that would capture their interest in new ways, or as you described, a lot of people are driven to be learning in part to take care of themselves and to take care of the people that they love. And what is proliferating online is all of these niche communities that are very specific to almost by age groups, by disease conditions, by caregiving circumstances, by community. The internet, it was built for those kind of very small but very targeted communities.
Right. There's a book called The Long Tail that you probably have read. And we have seen through the company Get Set Up, a lot of people are wanting to learn how to use Etsy or Shopify so that they can launch a business inside those platforms. So I think 2021 will be a year of the hybrid. We will probably never go back to completely all live events. There will always be a virtual component, and also the audience that we're reaching is global. So we have people attending our conferences from around the world, and we're seeing deal flow from around the world. So it's kind of an exciting time, I think.
Mary, you're like the poster child for the mega trends that we're seeing. I think everything you said was right. We're going to live in a hybrid world, and it's going to internationalize a lot of things that seemed pretty local and pretty domestic in bygone days. And it gives people just enormous opportunity to find the things that turn them on and help them live the lives they want to live.
It's so funny. My father was an entrepreneur, and you know, for him, packing up a week's worth of clothes and going on a business trip in California was a big deal. You'd go in the car and you come back the following Friday or something. For us now, we can do business around the world, and we're certainly seeing that today with the Airbnb IPO, that the deal flows are coming in from around the world. So over to you, Fred. I really appreciate this conversation, Lee.
Really wonderful. And we want to tell our audience, don't go away. There's more to come. But Lee, thank you for sharing the great work that you're doing at Pew Research, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about that work. It's a pleasure to be with you both.
Mary, this being December and everyone thinking about family and being together, even though so much of that is virtual this year, we're going to celebrate with a heartwarming story and some music. The story involves 94-year-old Madeline Foreman of New Jersey, her son, Dr. Glenn Foreman, and a cousin, Howie Foreman. He's from Montreal. Hi, everybody.
Hi there, Fred.
Hello.
Hey, Fred.
Well, it is great to see you. And Glenn, I think we'll start with you first to tell us some background of what this story is all about.
Well, my story is about my mother, who was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. And My grandparents were Russian immigrants. My mother is the fourth of 5 children. And she discovered at a very young age that she loved to sing. And she was, honestly quite talented. And as she grew older, while she was in high school, she heard about a talent contest in a theater called the Adams Theater in Newark, which was a very popular place. In fact, people that have performed there included Duke Ellington and the Andrews Sisters and Ella Fitzgerald and Tommy Dorsey. And my mother heard about a talent contest at the Adams Theater, and she entered and she won. And that gave her the sense that she had potential as a singer. And eventually she saved up her money and she was able to record her first records at a place called the Hertz Recording Studio in Newark. And that was at the age of 20. So she was on her way. Unfortunately, her family was really quite poor. And my mother made a decision that she would get a job as a secretary to ensure a steady source of income to help out her family. And that unfortunately essentially put an end to her singing career. And then lo and behold, a few months ago, my parents moved from their home of nearly 60 years into an apartment. And during the move, my mother came across a box that had her old recordings in it, going back to 1946, and also some recordings of her singing at her wedding in 1953. So she told me about what she had found, and she hadn't listened to these records in maybe 60, 65 years. And I immediately reached out to my cousin Howie, who is a musician and record producer in Montreal. And Howie took it from there. And he's done a wonderful job in helping to digitize my mother's music. So it's a wonderful story, and certainly my entire family is so grateful to Howie for helping to preserve her music.
Well, Madeline, let me ask you, when you found this box of records when you were moving not long ago, and this is in the midst of a pandemic too, these are what, 78 RPM records,
Yes.
the old 78s for those of us who remember turntables?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
What was your reaction when you found them?
Shock. I said, wow. I just didn't know what to do. I quick called Glenn. I said, guess what I found? And that's what he told us, what happened. And here we are.
Did you have anything to play them on?
We looked around. I thought maybe my parents during the move had found an old record player,
No, never.
but we had nothing. So we have a friend who had an old record player that could allow us to hear 78s. And then once we heard the music, then we reached out to Howie.
All right, Howie, your turn. Tell us what happened here. They reach out to you and they've got this box of old 78 records, probably quite scratchy and everything else.
Well, Glenn gave me a call and he asked me if I knew anyone who knew anything about restoring archival recordings. And oddly enough, a few places in my career, I did do that sort of thing, mostly with tape, but I had never done it with 78s before. So I asked around my friends, a lot of my recording engineer friends, who would be the best person or the best place to transfer this stuff, and found a great studio in California. They're called King Tet Productions, T-E-T. And they gave us all kinds of really good suggestions on how to wrap them carefully and send them. And because when you find this kind of archival stuff, one of the most important things is not to play them, or not to play them too often, because the material is so old that it just starts to kind of disintegrate. With old tapes, there's a technique called baking where we actually put them in an oven at 150 degrees. And because the oxide becomes sticky on them, kind of like a roll almost of Scotch tape, that one layer sticks to the next. And this is what happens with old recording tape. Anyway, but we did get them sent to California and transferred. And then the engineers sent the files to me so I could download them into my studio. And they really sounded pretty good. And because it was an interesting project from a technical point of view, I took one of the songs and I had some musicians play along with these recordings that had been made almost 70 years ago, and then tried to kind of mix the sounds together so they all sounded from the same idiom, as though they would sound from the same time, just sound a little fuller and better, as if at the time Madeline would have had the budget to call in a few other musicians. And because it was an interesting thing to do technically, I took one song and I posted it on my social media. And most of my friends and colleagues are in the business. And the response from the musical community of people that I knew from Canada, the United States, and all around the world was really super sweet. I mean, people were just knocked out with the performances, and they found them very, very touching. A lot of them said that they would play them for their parents, and because, you know, they were of that time. And so I was able to sort of deliver that really nice feedback and those good wishes to my cousin Madeline, who in fact was an excellent singer. And I spoke with a lot of my colleagues, and we sort of said, you know, if we had to give up our dreams of working in music or entertainment, or even on the technical side of recording, and just because, you know, it worked out that way, we couldn't, wouldn't we wonder for decades and decades, you know, were we really good enough? Could we have really done this? Because it's such a difficult and unforgiving business. So looking at it from that point of view, it was really sweet to be able to get a lot of positive feedback for Madeline and a lot of reinforcement from terrific professional musicians and singers, among them Grammy Award winners and Academy Award winners, to be able to say, yeah, you could have done this.
Mary, I know you want to ask some questions to Madeline too. And I'd like to know what her response was when she got this terrific gift, but I'm going to let you chime in first, Mary.
We'll start with that question. What was your response, Madeline?
My response, overwhelmed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I haven't heard them all these years, and probably I didn't have a player. That's probably what the answer was, and I just never even looked at them. I never even gave it any thought until such time as now, which is so exciting. It's wonderful.
You know, there's magic in this story, Fred, because in the time of COVID, many people are changing locations or thinking about how they want to live, getting rid of some of their organizing their home. And then there are these jewels that you find. And this was a jewel, and it became a family project. But I'd love to hear you sing a little. Could you sing one of your favorite songs?
Tear a star from out the sky, and the sky feels blue. Tear a petal from a rose, and the rose weeps too. A little, a couple of years later, not the same.
That's just beautiful.
That is wonderful. I've been watching the Netflix series Sinatra, and one of the things that's great about it is it's such a period piece that you hear this music that my parents danced in the kitchen every day to Frank Sinatra. And so there are these period pieces, and I love the way you all shared the music. And that was a great choice, Madeline. My new granddaughter's Claire Rose. So I love that song.
Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?
Well, let's take more of a listen. This is one of my favorites.
It's gotta swim and birds gotta fly. I've gotta love one man till I die. Can't help loving that man of mine. Tell me he's lazy. Tell me he's slow. Tell me I'm crazy. Maybe I know. Can't help loving that man. For it cost me a lot. But there's one thing that I've got. That's my man. Cold and wet, hard you bet, but all that I'll soon forget with my man. He's not much for looks and no hero out of books.
How, let me ask you while this is playing here, leaving some of the old-time scratchiness in, that I assume was intentional here, because it really takes you back.
It's intentional, but at the same time, it's kind of necessary, because in those days, the spectrum of frequencies, I don't want to get too technical, but it's kind of a narrow bandwidth. So there's nothing very, very high, and there's nothing very, very low. And the artifacts, the scratches and pops and stuff like that, they're from the actual friction of the needle in the groove. And we have the technology to take them away completely. But if you do that, you also degrade the quality of the music. So there'd be if they were the same frequencies as a place where Madeline was singing or the piano player was playing, those would get lost as well. So that's kind of the toss-up. That's where you say, sure, it would be great if we made it sound as though it was recorded today, but we can't really do that because the frequency range is so small. And you know, the frequency range of our voices is actually pretty small. So if we take too much away, sure, we can make it sound clean, but it would sound more antiseptic.
Madeline, what do you remember about being in the studio recording these? You must have been a nervous young woman.
Well, you know, at the time, I was very focused, and I remember seeing a microphone, getting in front of the microphone, just shutting my eyes and just singing. And that's about it. Yes, a wonderful feeling.
Well, it's too bad they didn't have American Idol in the voice back then.
So, Fred, I wondered, the lyrics that were so beautiful, that genre of music, people wrote about their relationships. And Madeline, you told us you've been married for a long time. Tell us the secret to your long marriage.
The secret. Sing to him every night. I just made that up. But I don't know. If we just do what we do, and it evidently worked.
Right.
And both of you did 94, you're 94, he's 98. Any secrets there?
keep going. I keep singing when I want to, and maybe that's it. I don't know. We're good health. We're fine.
And you have your family around.
Would you like to hear a little story about when we were first married?
Yes.
Here I, of course, thinking about my career, and I get married on a Sunday, and this was like a couple of days later. We went at the time where most young kids went to the Nevele Hotel for our honeymoon, and we went there on Monday, and Thursday they had guest night, and if anybody wanted to do something, they should go up the stage and do it. Of course, me, who always wanted to sing, I got up and I sang, and he offered me a job there, singing at the hotel. And I foolishly looked to the audience and say, witnesses, as if I needed 2,000 people to guarantee it. But, I had married already, so things were a little different. That was unusual. That was nice.
Well, Fred, in this holiday season, I just think this is a great gift to see the love and care of your family finding these treasures and then sharing them with all of us. I hope everyone is inspired by your story and thinks about the treasures that are in their own home.
Madeline, Glenn, and Howie, thank you for sharing this story with us all. And I want to point out, you're sharing this with everybody because anybody can go to your website, MadelineForman, FORMAN.com, and listen to all of these songs. I think that's just so beautiful that you're sharing it not only with family, but with everyone.
And Fred, in a year when Sophia Loren comes back, I see no reason why Madeline can't be on the Voice.
Oh, wow. Should look like her, right?
Well, you look great to me. So thank you all. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good holiday.
Mary, what a wonderful way to wrap up our December podcast, hopeful for the holidays. And I think we found an overall theme here, almost by accident, restoration. Madeline's son and cousin helped her restore the music she created maybe 3/4 of a century ago. We talked about restoring other kinds of memories, photographs with Michael, and the role the internet is playing with Lee Rainey.
Yes, and I think we have been in a hybrid world. We have not been able to meet in person. So many of us are looking online to find ways to restore our family connections, our holiday traditions, and also our corporate and colleague friendships. How exciting for me to begin this podcast with you. And
there's
also,
another restoration. We worked
Right.
together so many years ago.
Right. And then also to feature some of the colleagues we knew through the years, and also to have a much wider audience for our ideas as the internet has made all that possible. But I also am grateful to Michael Phillips because he kind of told us where to start. So while there is data that shows there are a lot on the internet, there's also data that there are some who are not. So if you want to get them started, Michael gave us some good tips for that.
And there are organizations that we've talked about in the past that can really help people too, whether it's getting on the internet or just helping to overcome all of this isolation.
Yes, I think in many ways the COVID has caused a revolution in technology adoption. In many ways, the COVID has caused us to technology become a must-have for us as we access services and healthcare. There are many organizations and nonprofits that are working day in and day out to help older adults. And so as you think about the end of the year, let's shine a light on those organizations like Leading Age and ARP Foundation, American Society on Aging, the National Council on Aging, the National Area Agencies on Aging, and a multitude of entrepreneurs that are innovating in the space to mitigate the loneliness that older adults are feeling. It's one of the largest pains that there are. And I hope that we will inspire others to reach out and restore some friendships, whether by phone or by using your computer, by connecting on Facebook, and reach out to the others. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday with your family, Fred. I hope all of our listeners have a wonderful holiday. And I look forward to a wonderful 2021 where we have many exciting things in store.
That's our hopeful theme. And we want to thank our sponsor, Life Bio and My Hello. For more information and more of our podcast, you can head to maryfurlong.com. Thanks for joining us, and please stay safe.